You wanna hear something crazy? Every single human culture we've ever studied has made music. They didn't all invent writing or farming, but they all made music. They all developed music independently from each other all around the globe. Music is so ingrained into our biology that it's literally inevitable. But why? Why do we even need music? What is it about music that makes your brain light up? And why are some melodies more catchy than others? In this video, we're going to be exploring some of these questions. And the answers just might make you rethink your entire approach to music production. And it all starts with one very simple idea. Let's rewind back to our caveman days. I'm serious, this is gonna make sense in a second. Humans weren't always at the top of the food chain. I mean, we didn't have claws or sharp teeth. Like, if you strip it all back, we're basically just a bunch of bald monkeys that walk on two legs. So, how did we survive? We had to work together. And the humans who were best at communicating with each other were the ones who didn't die. So, over time, evolution started favoring those traits that made us more social. We became better listeners, better speakers. And after thousands of generations, our brains have evolved to be super sensitive to even the smallest little nuances in human speech. The pitch, the rhythm, the phrasing, the little pauses in between. These little details weren't there just for the sake of it. They meant something. A rising tone could mean a question. A long pause could mean fear. All of this carried some sort of emotional information, and that was crucial to our survival. And here's the wild part. Most researchers actually agree that music probably came before language even existed. We were probably singing at each other before we ever figured out how to speak, which means we used music to connect with each other. Music might have been art, maybe entertainment, but most importantly, it was communication. And honestly, I know it's kind of bro science-y, but come on, it just makes sense. You just know that this melody is sad. It doesn't matter if you speak English, Chinese, or Polish. Your brain just understands the emotion behind it. It's universal. It's ingrained somewhere deep into your psychology. So we don't even really need language to communicate. But okay, what does any of this even mean? Where am I going with this? Well, the thing is, the melodies that get stuck in your head, they don't sound random. They sound like real human speech. Because music is so closely tied to our evolutionary communication skills, we're more sensitive to melodies that sound human. When music mimics the phrasing of speech, it just tickles your brain in all the right ways. It just sounds right. We'll go deeper on that in a second, but first, I really just want to drive this point home. If there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. Music is very closely tied to human speech. They're tied together, alright? And if this sounds crazy, I'm gonna prove it to you. Here's a study. Researchers have found that the way you speak actually affects the way you compose melodies. For real. They found that the rhythmic patterns of your native language actually show up in the melodic phrasing of your music. So, for example, if your language is full of short, punchy syllables, your melodies probably are as well. If you want to learn more about that, there's a great video on the topic by this guy. You can add it to your watch later. But yeah, the main takeaway is that music is speech. Keep this in mind going forward, because this is going to be the basis of all the practical tips I'm going to give you today. Because, how can you, as a music producer, actually use this to your advantage? Well, you can start phrasing your music like you would phrase a sentence. And there are three main things to focus on. Let's go over them. Here's the first thing you need to understand. We breathe. I mean, that's obvious, right? But what's actually happening when you speak? Well, you're actually just pushing air out of your lungs. That air hits your vocal cords, they vibrate, and boom, that's how you make sound. So, in order to talk, you have to exhale. And you can't exhale if you don't have air, so you need to inhale as well. I mean, this is all basic shit, but I think you know where I'm going with this. You have to pause every now and then to take a breather. Otherwise, you run out of air. And it's not just a biological thing, it's rhythmic. That pause, that breath, it's part of the communication. And your brain expects that rhythm. You have to take a breather in between phrases. And it's no different when it comes to music. Let me show you. Here's version number 1. It's cool, but to me personally, it gets tiring quick. So here's version number 2. In my opinion, this is much more catchy. And this is the exact same melody as before, except I removed some notes to let it breathe a little bit more. See, if I had to compare it to a person talking, it's like, yeah, you ever notice how bad public speakers use a ton of filler words and they just fill the silence with a lot of ums and uhs? Like, instead of pausing, they just, they kind of just basically do this, what I'm doing right now, and it's like, what's it called? But great speakers, they just pause. And somehow that makes them appear more confident. And music's the same way. You don't have to fill every single second with notes. If you don't have anything meaningful to say, you can just say nothing. Sometimes the silence is the statement. But breathing is just one part of the equation. Even if your melodies breathe, but they don't have this next thing, they're still gonna feel robotic. I'm going to read a quote to you from a very famous writer, and I want you to tell me what you think this is about. This sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stock record. The ear demands some variety. Now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences. And I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes, when I am certain the reader is rested, I will engage him with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. Gary Provost. That quote hits fucking hard. You can't tell me it doesn't. But yeah, this is all about variation. If the speaking pattern becomes too predictable, it gets boring. It feels natural for the brain to want to switch it up a little bit. So how can you apply this to music? Here's a very simple trick that I use literally all the goddamn time. So here's that pattern from earlier, except I made it just 1 bar long, and I'm gonna play it to you. I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, it's already starting to feel repetitive. So what I'm gonna do right now is press duplicate over here so that now I have this same pattern repeating twice, and I want to switch up the rhythm, right? So in the second instance of the melody, I'm gonna shift just this 1 note by 1 step to the right. That's it. That's literally all I'm gonna do. And look what happens. See, it completely changes the feel of it. And you can do this further, duplicate this again and add even more variations. And really, I encourage you to experiment with this a lot, because that's what I used in the original version of this melody. I just had way more fun with the different variations. You can really play around with this. Yeah, so those 2 principles are already gonna get you very far. But there is one more rule of music that results from speech. And this one's probably the most important. Let's zoom out. Why do we even need to speak? Why speak in the first place? To communicate, right? And what's the implications of that? It's that there's at least 2 people talking to each other. One guy might ask a question, and the other guy's gonna answer it. And there might even be a third guy that chimes in and adds something to the conversation. When we hear a question, we are naturally compelled to answer. I mean, when I ask you something, are you gonna just stare at me and say nothing? This is about making your music feel more like a conversation. It's about having one instrument ask a question, and then having something else answer it. I'm gonna give you an example right now. This is the principle of question and answer, or call and response as some people call it. It's such a big topic that it alone deserves its own video. Because here's the thing, you shouldn't apply it to just your melodies. You should apply it everywhere. To the drums, to the bass patterns, and even to entire phrases. And even to the song structure, to an extent. There's Q&As within Q&As within Q&As. And unfortunately, most people ignore that. But that's why I made this video, which is an entire deep dive about the principle of question and answer. So if you want to dig deeper into it and learn some more practical ways how you can apply it to your music, click here right now to watch it, and I'll see you there. Cheers.